As we inch closer to the end of our panel discussions, we're talking about community platforms and how to choose what really fits your organization's needs. Moderating this session is Shweta Sharma, joined by two powerhouse voices in the community space, Brian Oblinger and Carrie Melissa Jones. They'll discuss how to choose a platform that actually fits your community's goals, culture, and scale. The stage is all yours, Shweta. Take it away.
Thank you, Vinita. Thank you so much. And I hope the audience is finding it really interesting to be part of the Community Refocus event. So we have got an exciting final session to close the day out, the platform perspective, shaping smarter communities. It's incredible to see how the communities space has come so far. From being message boards and forums to intelligent ecosystem, the real conversation is now about finding a community that fits your organization goals, community maturity, and experience what you take to your users. Today, I'm joined by two of the experts who have witnessed not only the evaluation of the community platforms, but also lead them. First of all, let's welcome Brian Oblinger. So he worked with brands like Airbnb, Dockside, HubSpot, and many more. He not only built community, but he turns community to real growth engine. He is also a co-host of In Before the Law and the founder of the Community Strategy Academy. Welcome, Brian.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, next we have Carrie Melissa Jones, community strategist, author, the CEO of the CMJ Group. She has helped organizations like Google, Microsoft, and Sony to design the community, but keeping the sense of connection and purpose as it is. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Okay, so as we see that from the year when community started, it was all talking about messages, connecting through the messages on the forum, on the discussion boards, but now it has come very far from where it started. Today, we will discuss more about it. So, Carrie, I want to understand from you, as you are in the community space for so long, how do you define and categorize the modern community platforms, and what really changed in these years?
Yeah, I actually don't think things have changed as much as maybe we would have hoped that they would have. But I categorize today modern community platforms in kind of three different ways, depending on the kind of target market for that platform and the maturity of that platform. At the top, you've got enterprise grade platforms like Gainsight, Higher Logic, Khoros, that serve large organizations with complex needs, and they can really be customized, and you can have developers come in and create really custom solutions for you. There's also a number of bespoke solutions that you can build on top of as well. And then in the middle, there has been an explosion of platforms that kind of started out in the creator economy, and they're maturing very, very quickly. So you've got Circle, Better Mode, School, Mighty Networks even, and some that are even kind of crossing over and crossing the line between middle and enterprise, like Tightnet, which is works on top of Slack. And so you've got those two. And then at the foundation, you have free platforms that really color public perception of what a community space online should look like. So you've got Reddit, Discord, Slack, WhatsApp. They're really changing public perception of what people expect in spaces that are then applied to enterprise and small businesses. So I've been tracking the market since 2014, and the big trend that I've seen is that middle tier is just eating the enterprise tier's lunch. Like, they're just picking it up and they're moving really fast. They're matching features that used to only be available at enterprise levels, like single sign-on, advanced analytics, like AI capabilities, and they're moving so quickly to create updates and respond to their users. And they're actually designing for how people use communities online today, not like these forum era of the 2010s forum era of communities, but really a place where people can actually converse and interact and gather. So What is really, really surprising is that people are using the free tier even and the mid-tier at the enterprise tier level, which before was just a huge no-go. And depending on the regulations of your industry, like might still be a no-go for you, but I'm seeing it happening at really, really large company scales. So today the question is not like which tier do I need, but actually what do I want people to do and where will people be most likely to gather? And then you start building there. So that's a long-winded answer to say that there's these 3 tiers. The middle tier is really, really speeding up.
Definitely. And we see it. We see it with our customers. And definitely there is enterprise level. And usually it was the one level that was like, if you want to build a community, let's go there. But definitely coming up with this middle tier, it is good in a way because many of the middle base companies are looking for communities, but definitely that's like how it is evolving. So Brian, going forward, where Carrie just left, when we talk about getting a right community platform, or what should an organization approach would be, there is a right and there is a best fit. So if you want to talk more about, what do you think about it? What is the right platform for an organization?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends is the most consultant answer of all time, right? But I think it's the right answer here. What are you trying to do? What are your goals? What's your budget? When you start looking at comparisons of strategy, comparisons of like how different platforms might or might not fit that, you may find a platform that checks all of your boxes technically, but you can't afford it. Or you might find the platform that you can afford, but checks none of your boxes, and so there's a lot of trade-offs oftentimes to be made between, a bunch of different elements. Technical and budget are just 2 of them. There's other, aspects of it. As Carrie mentioned, I think there's also changing expectation on your members' side of it. We're obviously seeing social media just get gutted, like every single day is kind of going away. And so what's left on the fringes are very small group chats, essentially, on one end. And on the other end is still like the big open, enterprise support community thing. So yeah, there's so many different things to take into account. And like the last thing I'll say, and Carrie mentioned this a little bit too, in a nice way. I'll be a little less nice about it, I guess, or a little more direct, which is, Slack and Discord and these things, there's a double-edged sword there. And so one side of the sword is it has democratized community building in the sense that it's cheap or free in a lot of cases. You can spin up an instance of one of those, like I could do it right now while we're talking and you wouldn't even know I was doing, it's like a couple of clicks. So it's democratized community building. So that's the good side. Like that's a good thing, right? I'm saying that's a good thing, but it's also setting really bad expectations, and it's setting up a lot of companies, especially like in my world, I'm kind of more on the enterprise side, right? Just to, I guess, sort of like help people understand where I'm coming from. And so a lot of times people are like, hey, we'll spin up a free Slack, we'll start doing some stuff there. Again, I think that's great. Like, I think it's a great place to do some experiments and that sort of thing. But then they quickly run into the walls of those platforms, of which there are, many. And then it's like, okay, what do we do now? We need to go do a whole vendor selection thing. And there's a bunch of trade-off. Oh my God, the cost, there's usually like a sticker shock on the cost because you're going from free to not free, or free to very not free, depending on which platforms you're looking at. So I think there's a bunch of these changes, that are kind of happening, a bunch of things that are going on. And it's overall muddying the waters for people. I think years ago, there was maybe 4 or 5, kind of players in the community market. And you picked between one of the, 4 or 5, and you were happy because that's all there was. And to Carrie's point, now there's many of them. And so it's sort of that old adage of, the paradox of choice a little bit. On one hand, there are more choices and, hopefully you can find your fit for purpose, which is great. But because there's, so many more options and they're quite different, right? If we think about a Slack versus a Gainsight or something, to someone who doesn't do this every single day all the time, like Carrie said, she's been looking at this for 16 years or whatever. Most people are wading into this for 6 minutes, and they're trying to figure out, like, what's the difference between Discord and vanilla or whatever, right? And that's just like a really hard thing, I think, and it's makes it more difficult for people to know, like, where do I even start, which presumably, I guess, is why we're here doing this session today. Hopefully we can help them understand.
Exactly. Great insight, Brian. And really, it's not about what is best in the market, but what fits best with your organization needs is what really matters. And for that, I think so the experts are required. It's not like we do get the example saying, it works fine, it's free, just click, and everything is built. And another moment is like, I am not finding this particular feature, and it's like, it's not there. So I think so that's really important to understand where we are coming from and where we want to take our organization. So from this, Carrie, we need to understand, like, we want our audience to understand, when you are helping your team or your team is helping the customers to select or evolve a community, what are different factors you take care of? I know there would be n number of it, because I myself have joined some of the sessions, so I understand it. But for our audience, like, if you can give us a little details or what are the different points, because being in the present industry, we see this is happening a lot. People are moving out of the platform, they are trying another platform. But again, after 2 or 3 years, again, that RFP process again starts, which is another painful, right? So if there are some tips, some details that could help us get more information to our audience, what is the way you should look into?
Yeah. I get so frustrated seeing these organizations invest for like a year or two, and then I find out, we're actually going to another platform now. It's like, you're going to run into the same challenges there. It's not a magic bullet. None of the platforms will be a magic bullet for you. And I think that's a big expectation that needs to be set. So I think if we're looking at a brand new platform from scratch, or we're looking at moving a platform, the number one question that needs to be asked is, what are the members' jobs to be done inside of that community? Or like, the jobs to be done framework is essentially saying, like, what are people trying to accomplish? What are they hiring your community to do? And so not what the company wants the community to accomplish, but what are they actually going to log into your community and do in there? Is it about showing up to troubleshoot a problem at 11 o'clock at night? Is that where people are going to be using your community? Is it going to be about long-term professional networking? Is it going to be about educational content and training people on your platform? So what is important is understanding, what are people hiring your community to do? And then once that is clear, then we can look at, okay, what is our organization hoping to achieve from this? Once those two things are clear, the number of options significantly reduces. So like, if you're focused on product feedback, the platforms that you might look at are going to be different than if you're focused on support driven community, or like more of a retention play. So that's going to reduce your options significantly. And then as Brian mentioned, like, budget is a really important question. I typically will ask it after asking these other questions, because we don't want to come in setting the budget kind of at some benchmark and then having that be the determiner. But it is important, if your budget is $5,000 a year versus $500,000 a year, we can work with very different vendors and even customization and developers and things like that. So the final thing that's really important to ask, that I don't think enough people ask, is, what is the comfort of my team in using these platforms? And is there someone on the team, or multiple people on the team, who are going to be comfortable in this platform every single day? Are they going to be happy when they have to go set an event up? Is it going to be a huge pain for them? Are they going to be able to find what they need when they're in the platform, or navigate the analytics? So that is really, really an important consideration, because if your team is not willing to really get in there and learn it and continue to evolve it, then it's just going to be this clunky piece of software that you just bought and then it never got really used. So I think those are the most important things: members needs, business needs, budget, and then the team that's going to be in place.
Carrie, just want to add, when there are multiple teams involved in selection process.
Oh gosh.
Because
Yes.
I'm asking this. That's the pain point, because you have some people who are focused on one platform because they are more comfortable with it. But if you talk from the community point of view, these people are not even comfortable using that same platform, and then the conflict arises. So what tips you want to give at that point? Like, okay, if there are two separate teams looking for different platform, what would be the one common goal they should be looking for that could help them to sort? Because a lot of our audience would have that same question in mind. Guys, I like the platform, I'm happy, my team is happy, but the team which is working closely with me is not happy with that platform.
This is a custom situation where the consultant becomes mediator. And it does happen. That's where it's just so very important to understand what is the platform going to be used for and what are the most important things that must be done in the platform, and then finding the platform that is going to meet those use cases most closely. And sometimes at the end of the day, these teams are fighting, and the team that's fighting is not even going to be in the platform every day. I see that a lot. Like, they're making a decision because they're like, well, we're already on Salesforce, so we got to use Salesforce, or whatever, like their technical or financial needs are winning out over the day-to-day experience of the person or people that are going to actually be in the platform every day. And so I'm always advocating for the person who's going to be using the platform every single day, because you could make someone's job miserable with the wrong platform, and we don't want to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'll tag on and say, again, in the more blunt version of I'm like Carrie's, what was the anger translator,
Barack Obama.
So I think what we're saying is that surfacing. So here's some practical, I guess, advice for folks. This is why it's so important to document what your actual needs are, and rank them in priority and severity and however you want to think about it, and basically run the process to the scorecards, right? And understanding which one of these things is actually fulfilling our needs versus not, versus someone's vibes or someone's opinions, or frankly, well, I play golf with some dude over at wherever on Saturdays, so we have to buy their platform. And you all laugh and go, oh, that's such a funny thing from Brian. And it's that's actually how stuff gets selected sometimes. So the way to fight against that is to make it very unemotional and, kind of boring in an IT way of we're going to document our actual needs here, and we're going to do a checkbox thing. So that's that side of it. I think the other thing, just to add on, in addition to what Carrie's already said, is that the advice I always give people, and I'll give it to you here, is there's the feature functionality and the price, right, are super important. There's also just the success side of it. And what I mean by that is, what kind of support does this company have in customer support, but also, what kind of expertise are they bringing to the table? Do they have good services, both technical or, maybe they have consulting services, professional services? When you set up demos or calls with them, who comes to the calls? Is it the most junior SE, or is it, hey, here's an executive, one of our executives who's your stakeholder? And so, what I try to do is if we're going to pick 2 or 3 vendors, which is usually how it works, and we're okay, let's talk to 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever it is based on your strategy. Try to do everything, as same and even at the same time as possible, so that the client can, whoever's doing the selection can feel the difference of all right, how quickly did they get back? What was their, kind of urgency? Who did they bring to the meeting? How do they describe the success, that their clients have had? Can I talk to some of those clients? Do they make that a hard thing or an easy thing? That might be do they make that hard, or they can't, I'm not going to name names, but there's like several vendors where if you're like, hey, can you give me an example of 5 other communities that are like ours that are on your platform? You're never going to get a list of 5, you know, and that's a pretty good signifier that, oops, like maybe that one's not going to be the best for us if there's literally no one else like us on it. Not always, but could be. So I think digging a little bit deeper beyond the, you know, do they have forums? Do they have events? You know, kind of like modality, like, yeah, they have badges, like, great. You know, what is the company, like, what's their structure? Does it seem like a long-term thing? You know, we're experiencing that now with consolidation and like other things in the market. You want to make sure that if you're going to sign a 2-year or a 3-year deal, which is really common, you know, with these types of, like, at the enterprise, again, the enterprise level, that they're going to be around and they're going to be able to service you and all that kind of stuff. So lots of different things that go into it, but make it as unemotional, you know, and kind of boring as possible, I think is good advice.
Okay, awesome. I mean, we started with a conversation, and this come out of that conversation, like how we get started. So I just want to put another question that anyone of you could answer, or you can just tag along. So when we talk about intelligence, because we are saying that community is moving towards the intelligence ecosystem, right? And it is, these days, it's a very common word in the community world, like intelligent communities and so on. In your view, what is actually a community platform intelligence? We know humans can't be replaced, but what is that intelligence according to you both? Because that's like a key word for the whole purpose, what we are doing now.
I can kick us off and then
go for it.
I mean, I think that word is being thrown around a lot, and there's a lot of platforms that are just like throwing out like AI summaries on posts and like, here's your AI chatbot. For the community builder and anyone working with the platform, the most important AI features are things that Nicole was just talking about in the last session, is like making it really easy to create events, like not having to click through 7 different setting screens. Like, it's intelligent about how it's guiding you to, you know, I want to do a 1-hour event. Like, it's going to start drafting some copy for me and making my job easier. So that's one, making it really easy to pull analytics and make sense of those analytics. And then also, like, is the API straightforward? Can I use it? Or am I going to have to be begging developers for help with all of this? It's not about AI summaries, but I'm seeing that like all across the board, and I don't know who actually finds those that useful. It could just be me. I'm like not using them correctly. I don't know, but I don't find that very intelligent.
Okay, Brian, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm gonna be the, you know, it's like we got a little ahead of ourselves here. Let's put it that way, right? Like, in terms of the industry, and like, there's a lot of promises of AI this and AI that, and then, you know, you sort of like get into someone's sandbox or whatever, and there's stuff there. It's coming, you know, like I've seen all the roadmaps of all the players, and they're all certainly out there building stuff. To what extent those are going to be valuable or useful or feature complete, I think is still to be determined. I don't know that today necessarily you're going to be making purchasing decisions based on that, would be my guess. It's probably more of a like kind of an augmentation feature set, you know, at the moment, as opposed to a differentiator for most platforms. With all that said, I think that there's been also kind of a rebranding of this. Like, when we say intelligent, you know, and I guess I'm guilty because I just sort of took us to the AI world, but there's things like, you know, automation triggers, and like, we don't need like necessarily like full on LLM, you know, whatever. What a lot of community professionals and their members need are just like 1 or 2 like really nice kind of more automated, you know, taking out some of the manual stuff. And some platforms do a better job, you know, than others at that today. And then, you know, you string 2 or 3 of those together, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, that's pretty cool. Like, that's a nice workflow. Now I don't have to do that thing that I was doing 5 times a week, every week. Or can I get a member to an answer in one less click than they did before. That's a big win. So I think there's a spectrum of this stuff. I think everybody's like so super focused on the like we're gonna have a like AI Terminator in our community and it's gonna do all the things. And it's like, I think you just like honestly need to find the platform that has a couple of useful, what we used to call automation, right? And like build some of those. So I'm not anti, AI. I just think that a lot of the promises have been made and not delivered on quite yet. And so we're still waiting to see what does that actually look like in practice, and is it useful or not? Does anybody want it, frankly, right?
Yep. Yeah, and you're kind of betting on like which of the platform's teams do you believe in the most to deliver the things that they say they're going to deliver? Like, how well resourced is their developer team working on this? Like, who is on it? Like, but we don't. Yeah. They're not certain investments to make at this point.
Exactly. So I think so we are coming close to the end of our session, but before closing that, one question, Brian, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you about your thoughts, how a community team can be future proof. Because now I'm asking this because now we are talking about intelligence, we are talking about AI, but how about the community team? How can they be future proof their platform investment, what they are doing? So if you both could add some points to there. So Brian, if you want to get started with.
Yeah, my mind immediately goes to a couple of things, and I'd love to hear from Carrie on this too, is like, I guess, quickly from my end, somewhere in the middle, right? Like you want to be on a platform that is developing and has a roadmap and maybe has some, cutting edge things coming up, so you don't find yourself left out. But if that's all you're chasing, then you might find yourself just chasing that and not having something that's reliable and proven and works well. So I think, if those are like the options on the end of a slider, I think you want to be somewhere in the middle of that and maybe bias to one side or the other a little bit based on your situation. For my money, platforms that have really extensible, like lots of APIs, you can put the community inside of other things, whether that's your product, your app, or whatever. You can easily use those APIs or, integrations that they may have to integrate with, Salesforce, HubSpot, Zendesk, like the usual suspects of your tech stack as a company is important. I think if you're, picking the platform that is like super locked down and tight and there's no way to get any data out of it or analytics out of it, and there's no APIs and those sorts of things, you might find yourself in a bit of trouble as you scale. And so for my money, there's a bit of a premium on that side of it, the extensibility, the integrations, the APIs. I don't know, Carrie, if that makes sense, or you have other things.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree, like interoperability and integrations are absolutely important. I remember dreaming about a day, like 10 years ago, dreaming about a day where all these things would connect. And I think we're like really close to it. It's very, very exciting. So your platform needs to be part of that connection because all the other parts of your business are starting to connect in myriad ways. If your community platform can't be part of that mix, you're going to get left behind in that. So I think that's a really important point that Brian made. I'll say too, in terms of like community teams and future-proofing like your work, I think we need to, it's such a cliche, but step into being more human than ever before, because all of these like support-driven use cases for community where it's like all transactional, that stuff is all like AI can handle it actually really, really well. What AI cannot handle is the relationships, and those relationships are what actually build and sustain businesses and organizations. And so if you have been waiting on the sidelines to be more relational in your work, like now is the time to do it. And we've known for a long time that is like what feels good for us to do, and now we can actually step into that work and leave some of that grunt work behind, hopefully, to really focus our work on gathering people and making a difference in their work and in their lives.
Great. Awesome. We are all close to the time, and thank you, Brian. It could go a long way, these good discussions. So thank you, Carrie. Thank you, Brian, so much. I think so it gives us a little clear picture how we can shape smarter and sustainable communities. And thank you everyone for tuning in. We hope you walk away with a fresh perspective and practical takeaways on how to evaluate your platforms. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
That discussion was incredibly practical. A reminder that the best platform is the one that fits your people and goals. And we should all take that back. Thank you to the panel for sharing their wonderful take on such an important conversation. Now let's wrap up the day with our final keynote.